Movies, video games. I'm sure all of you have seen at least one movie and played at least one video game in your lifetime. Ever since they were both created, there have been the people who enjoyed them and the people who looked down upon them, claiming that both movies and video games get people violent. I decided to do my final essay on the controversy of movies and video games making people violent. Now, do they get people violent? As a lover of both movies and some games, I have been watching and playing games pretty much all my life. I never would have thought that they would make people violent, potentially turning them into serial killers. Of course, there are two takes on this subject. The people who don't believe they influence violence, and the people who are convinced that they actually do make people violent. For films, in 1922, the MPAA, or the Motion Picture Association of America, established a rating system for films. As the years went on, films that were PG like Indiana Jones got a bit too violent, which led to the creation of the PG-13 rating. For the video games, a game called Mortal Kombat led to the creation of the ESRB, or the Entertainment Software Rating Board.
Kano wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
These rating systems helps parents distinguish what movies and or games are appropriate for their kids. For example, I happen to know a game developer by the name of Dylan Cuthbert, and I asked him his take on this subject. He is responsible for programming games such as Star Fox and Blasto, so he has experience with both violent games and non-violent games. As of right now, he is the founder of Q Games, but he took time out of his day to tell me his take on it. What he said relates to the rating system. He said, and I quote, "I don't think video games promote violence. Even my 5-year-old kid can separate fantasy from real life. Any violence or sociopathic problems are already inherent in DNA or upbringing." So what he says is that it's all in the upbringing, which means the treatment and instruction received by a child from its parents throughout his childhood. So it's more psychological. Then I remembered I took a psychology class a couple of semesters ago. Although I failed it with an F-, I remembered Rod Plotnick talking about the Bobo doll experiment. I was glad I didn't get rid of the textbook yet, so I went to go look for it. In the experiment, there were two groups of children. One group was shown a video of adults kicking an inflatable Bobo doll. After observing that, those kids started kicking the Bobo doll. The other group of kids, even after being mildly frustrated, did not do anything to the Bobo doll. That was all observational learning that occurs through observing the behaviors of others. So what I know is that the violence can happen through psychological means, especially as kids. This concludes my proposal, although there are still many unanswered questions I have. How do teenagers get influenced by the violence in movies and games? Do people get used to violence after seeing it in movies and games after a while? I do not know the answers to these questions yet. I will research more for the essay. However, I know how it can be prevented. Face it, pretty much everybody ignores the rating systems in both games and movies. If people start paying attention to them and start using them as guidelines for younger kids, the kids will not learn and watch things they aren't supposed to. This concludes my proposal.